I want to talk to you about a really important subject today. I want to ask you a question. Do you think that our kids are being robbed of social skills by having too much screen time? Do you think that these devices that we all have and we give to our kids, do you think it's keeping them from 20 years from now having amazing skills so that they can climb the career ladder and be the best person they can be at a cocktail party, at an event, and so on? I have two amazing experts here today that we're going to ask that very question to. But instead of being gloom and doom, as one of them says, we are going to instead give you a lot of positive tips that these two experts have to make sure your kids are growing up safe and smart so that then they're social in person in addition to on here. So I have two incredible people. First, in the middle, I have Diana Flett. Now, Diana's incredible. Diana Flett is a retired Army officer and a highly decorated combat veteran who decided to take her years of leadership skills and work to enhance the confidence and abilities of elementary school girls. Her goal is to teach young girls to lean in early so they can grow to be their best versions of themselves. Diana, welcome to the video.
Hi, Josh. Thanks so much. Hi, Jill.
Well, thank you for your service. Next, we have Jill Simonian, one of my favorite people. Jill's the author of an awesome book called The Fab Mom's Guide, and she really teaches new expectant mothers some really incredible stuff. You can learn more about her at thefabmom.com. And Jill's also a contributor very regularly on CBS Los Angeles 2 times every week. I'm honored to have both of you here. Let's get down to business. Let's start talking about kids. You know, we're hosting this video because Jill and I were on the phone and she was frustrated. She said, I can't believe how these kids at an event, their parents are letting them just be on their phones and they're looking at their phones like this. And I said, Jill, I love this frustration. Bottle it up and let's release it this week.
Let it go.
Right? Now's the time to release it. So we're all on our phones because it's hard not to be. So let's start, Diana, with you first. You know, you have a website that's a business that's awesome. I love what you do. Girlsmarts.com. What age group girls do you work with and what do you do? And then talk to us about setting guidelines.
So the program's designed really for girls that start at about age 8 and works all the way up to girls 11, 12 years old. And we present the girls with workshops to give them skills so that they can be more confident and capable as they head into those terrible, and I know Jill remembers this, those terrible tween girl years when you're in middle school and early high school. And the intent of it is to really make girls more confident and more capable of that kind of social interaction that we're talking about right now.
That's awesome. Now, let me first ask you one rule that you have. Do you allow your kids to have the devices at the dinner table, Diana?
You know, like anything, I think we have to be smart about setting boundaries for anything for our children. So no, my children don't take the phones to the table. They also know that if we're in a certain situation and I give them the mommy look, that it's time to put the phone away. And definitely no dings and dangs on the phones that come popping up in the middle of everything. So we do and have set boundaries from the get-go of introducing them into the kind of screen world and social media stuff.
Great. So silent mode, and you've got a look that is you got from the military that basically tells you what to do.
I'm telling you, I went from lieutenant colonel to squad leader in about 2 days. I have 4 boys, so that look has to be pretty omnipotent as far as its impact on them. And they're very good about it, but they need reminders. I mean, we can't just tell kids this one time and expect them to have an aha moment. They have to be taught, and the boundaries have to be set consistently in order to make this work for the family.
Yeah, well, you are one of my favorite people now, Diana. I love it. All right, Jill, on to you. You've got a screen time set of passions and opinions, which I adore you for, all of your own. Talk to us about what you don't allow your kids to have in a restaurant, and talk to us about long car rides, what you also don't allow your kids to have.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. So my daughters are 6 and 5. And I mean, ever since they were infants, I would take them on these long road trips to grandma and grandpa's house, a 3-hour drive. And, you know, a lot of my friends with the toddlers and the little kids, they say, oh, how do you go on road trips and your kids don't watch a movie in the backseat? I've never given my kids screens at restaurants. I've never given them screens in the back seat of a car. I've never given them screens when we're standing in line at the grocery store or for the ride at Disneyland or, you know, whatever it is. I really make it a habit to not get into the consistent mode of giving them a screen so that they can occupy their brain. And that's something really important to me because I think, I mean, whether you're a child or an adult or, you know, any of us, the more we condition our brains to have to be looking at something, the less creativity we have, the less social skills we have, the less ability we have to talk and interact, or just maybe stand and wait. Heaven forbid you just learn how to stand and wait for something and be. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this, and let's not lie, I work in media. My job revolves around posting and sharing and reading and scrolling and that's my whole job. Yeah. But the passion behind it is, it comes from me going to restaurants. And on a recent trip to New York, I went to a restaurant. I was by myself. It was for my book. And I'm sitting there looking at the tables, full restaurant, packed, the most incredible place, families, people, dates, people. Everyone is like this. Just sort of, looking up at each other. Everyone's like this. And I'm sitting there and I had this epiphany watching people. For like 10, 15, 20 minutes I was there and there was no real interaction. And I thought, this is bad. Not to be doom and gloom, but this is not okay. This is what kids are seeing. This is their normal. That's not okay.
Yeah, there's an attorney, as a businessman, and I work with a lot of influencers. There are two kinds of people in this world. There's the creators and the consumers. And we are often consuming, and the people in life are really creating. Okay, I love that, Jill. I couldn't agree more with you. Diana, back over to you. You said social media has nothing to do with XYZ. What is that, and what do you mean by that?
Right. So we can't anticipate that kids are going to learn social skills from social media because it is a really screen-oriented relationship. And one of the first workshops we do in Girl Smarts is we call it face-to-face, actually, and we teach the kids how to have conversations, how to maintain eye contact when that may be uncomfortable for them, how to do something as simple as a good handshake. And while we might know how to do that, and frankly, it's a very strong marker for first impressions for women, we have to teach our kids how to do it. And I think so many times about, when Uncle Tom comes to visit and you say, Jimmy, go give him a good handshake, and Susie, go give him a hug. Well, I think Susie needs to give him a handshake too, personally. But those sorts of interpersonal skills, how to be a good listener, those things are not taught. And we have to teach them to our children in order for them to become proficient at it. It's a skill. It's not something you're born able to do. It's a skill.
Yeah,
it is a skill.
My father is the handshake, former Army. He's the handshake guy, and our whole generation. Give me a good handshake. You got to squeeze it really good, and he'll spend 3 minutes teaching it, and I love that. I love people that give a good handshake.
But it's impressive when a child knows how to give a good handshake. It is impressive.
Well, and one of the things that we were talking about, Josh, was that when we go into this summer break, if we can teach our kids how to introduce us to their new teachers as opposed to us introducing our children, what a powerful turnaround and what an empowerment aspect of that initial impression that's going to make for the new teachers and for the child. I mean, all of a sudden they may kind of get it that this is their life now and that they have to kind of step up and be grown about it,
Yeah, I love that. So you got a parent-teacher night or some first day at school or whatever, and the daughter says, "Hello, teacher. These are my parents, first name and first name."
Right, exactly.
You said that empowers the daughter, especially, I'm a huge fan of really protecting younger daughters. And so that empowers them to say, wow, here I am, an individual introducing people. I love that. A great handshake plus that opportunity. There was a study recently about different people that end up raising different levels of kids, and the people that are on their way to the doctor and they talk to their kids about, what are you going to ask the doctor? These are the things you're going to, and the mom will actually, or the dad will say, remember, this is what you need to ask the doctors. What are we going to do here? What are we going to do there? And they put it in the child's hand to say, this is what I want you to practice. The kids bring it up instead of a different version where the mom or the dad is just talking to the doctor and the kids are over there just sitting there, not a part of it, making them active. Now, let's talk about one more thing that, Diana, I think you had that was really interesting. You talk a lot about boundaries, family boundaries, which I think is really good. No one's going to tell your kids about these boundaries. No one's going to teach them how to have a handshake. But you said set up an anniversary date, if you will, to revisit those boundaries. Can you speak to us more about that?
Yeah, sure. How many times have we ever told our children to do something one time and it's stuck and they never make the mistake again of doing it wrong? Well, that doesn't happen. So the idea of having kind of this recurring discussion with the kids about, hey, I just found out about this app. It's not one I'm interested in you being, sharing with your friends with, or at least once a quarter, once every 6 months, once a year, maybe when you're changing the batteries on the smoke detector or on somebody's birthday, you have the talk. And we used to, in the Army, we would train and have big discussions about safety, but we had a routine safety brief that we did before every deployment, every year on a certain date. And that's kind of the mentality you have to get into in terms of keeping our kids' boundaries reinforced as a family, and importantly, keeping family values at the front in terms of how they behave on social media.
And John, I just want to add one thing too, because everything, it's like we all agree here. And I think there's also a lot of value in telling kids, like when we're having these talks with them or with each other, I think there's also tons of value in telling them why we need to create limits. I don't know if any of you saw, I am obsessed with the story I saw on 60 Minutes this last Sunday, and I'll put it in the comments here. But there was a story that Anderson Cooper did, and he interviewed a bunch of tech industry insiders that worked at Google and Yahoo and so forth. And he talked about what he called brain hacking, and how all of these tech companies, Google, Yahoo, I mean, you name them all, they're using brain science to figure out how to design their apps and programs so that it becomes physically addictive. Every time someone likes a picture or scrolls Facebook, their programs are genuinely becoming addictive and creating the, what we call the dopamine effect and everything, where you want more. And it's affecting the way our kids' brains are being developed. And I tell my young daughters, hey, you guys, to put it in their frame of reference, I said, the more you watch that, your brain is going to turn black. I go, your brain is going to turn black and crumbly. And they look at me, what do you mean it's going to turn black and crumbly? I go, your brain will turn black and crumbly. And that's the frame of reference I use for a 5 and 6 year old. But tell these teenagers, hey, they're collecting information on you. This is not, your privacy is not private anymore. I think we have to teach them the concepts of privacy and what is physically happening to their bodies and minds when, they scroll, and they don't know how to manage.
Yeah. So tomorrow I have a class on how Snapchat works, the hidden parts of Snapchat, and really I have 7 classes this summer. It's called Parent University. I'm not trying to plug it, but a lot of parents have been asking, how does it work? So rather than them asking their kids, which they're really embarrassed to, we teach them in 30 minutes or less live on Facebook, and you can click the link below right now. It's called Parent University. All summer long, we're teaching you the apps that predators hang out in. We're teaching you Snapchat. It turns out that parents want at the beginning of every one of our classes, which are 2 times per week, and you can they're on demand as well, but they're live. There's a Snapchat part of it, and then there's the part that I really want to give you. And it turns out parents are like kids, and I mean this in the most loving way. They go, no, I just want the pizza. No, you need to eat the greens too. No, Mom, I just want the pizza. So we have this whole amazing class schedule all summer, and they go, no, I just want the Snapchat class. Okay, but you need all of this. So we're doing a Snapchat class 7 times, and at the end of it, we're also teaching another app that you must know about because your kids are going to run into it. But we're doing that, and tomorrow's class is all about the most addictive part of Snapchat, which is called, and I'm sorry to go off kilter here, but it's on topic. It's called a Snapchat streak. There's all these little tiny icons that end up next to your face. And when you're chatting, if I was chatting with Diana back and forth for more than 2 days, and every day one of us went back and forth at least just once, boom, boom, and we played ball just one time on Snapchat with a hidden message or a video just to each other, then eventually after 2 days, you get a number next to Diana's face when you're looking at my phone. And it has a little tiny fire. You can change that fire to something else. But all of a sudden, kids, just like gamification of my American Airlines points, because I don't want to lose them, and I want to gain them, and my American Express that I have in my phone. We as adults are gamified. The world has figured out how to gamify my Amex, my Visa, and all that other stuff. Kids, they're gamifying it by saying, don't lose your Snapchat streak number because you're going to compare it with everybody else. And so that's why kids are on this, that dopamine of I'm at 300 now with Diana, and I don't want to lose that number, and I'm streaking with a ton of people.
I mean, I can tell my kids, are doing that, and purposefully sometimes we'll say stop. Just first off, they don't get to take their phones up to their rooms either. Now,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But my younger ones, I'm like, plug that puppy in down here, and I have a little hair or something that I lay on top of it to see if it's been moved during the night. I was an intelligence officer, okay? I've got all my little tips and tricks.
By far my favorite guest right now. Just learned.
That is magic. Oh,
I know.
So sneaky.
It's loud.
Oh, we've got to have you back on, Janet. This is amazing.
No, it is amazing. And not to go into a different direction with discipline and all of that. But Diana, I got to tell you, I remember when I was a little kid and everyone had the telephone in their room, and all of my mom's friends, my sister and I never had televisions or phones in our rooms.
Right.
And all of my friends' moms would say, I don't know how to get my kid off the phone. And my mom would look at them and say, unplug the phone or take it out of their room. Like, it's not a difficult problem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you for saying that. They're not allowed to take their phones in their room.
Right. Now, I think we've hit a hot spot on her.
Yeah, she's paused for a sec, but I like where you're going with this, and I'm going to just tie it in here real quick. A lot of parents will say, I don't have the opportunity to look at my kid's phone. Because I don't know their passcode. And we always remind them, hey, you're not a bad parent. First of all, I'm just going to take this moment to say, if you bought your kid a car, do you have the opportunity to keep the keys? Yes. Do you have the opportunity and the right and the chance to look in the trunk if at any time you feel like that student is using that car in a way that you think it has something illegal in the trunk? Absolutely. Do you have the right to take those keys away if the child is driving too quickly because do you think they could kill another family or your child? Absolutely. Well, these are vehicles. This is a $700 vehicle, right? And it could hurt somebody else. It could hurt your child if they're living under your roof. You have every opportunity, and we'll get Jill back here in just a sec. You have every opportunity to make sure that you can in addition to keeping them safe, always know what's going on. And a lot of parents are like, no, that's their space. And it's unfortunate that indeed.
Yeah, I tell people I trust my kids, but I trust them because every time I check, they're doing what they told me they were doing. And
I verify. Yeah.
Absolutely. Not only is that the car that you're letting them have, it's a doorway into your house. And it's a doorway that unless you're able to lock it, you have absolutely no idea who's coming into your home. Now, who of us would sleep with their door unlocked and just kind of hope that our kids are okay? Hope is not a course of action when you're talking about the ability of your children to be safe and sound in a way that they are risky sometimes and what they're doing.
Yeah, and when you give your kid a car, they go through driver school, and they also see you, by the way, see their parents. Like Diana, your boys are driving with you their whole life until they get the keys, and then they see, well, this is how my mom drove. And she would stop at a red light, and she would do this, she would behave, she would slow down if she saw crazy drivers, all this stuff. But so the way we behave on these is important, but also we just hand it over and there's no driver training. In 10 years, I strongly believe that you're going to look back and people are going to say, can you believe we used to just give kids these devices and anyone could contact them and there was no script, there was no protocol, there was no this, and this is how you're going to get it removed. And we're going to look back, I think, and it's going to be a totally different world.
Well, and I think that's why what you're doing with these seminars is so important because it changes so quickly in terms of what's trending, what's not trending, and to have someone whose whole job it is, it's how I feel about Girl Smarts. I know that parents care, and I know parents are doing their best, but they don't have the time to sit down and deep drill into what the kind of stuff that I'm drilling and you're drilling into in terms of social media. So if we can help them by condensing those things that they can't read about all the time and giving them the information, I really believe parents want to do the right thing and they want to make it come together in a positive way.
I couldn't agree more. And we've got Jill back now. Jill is such a social butterfly. She probably ran off to some cool event and now she's back.
I wish I ran off. You want to know that? First of all, I think the tech gods are listening because when I said turn it off, my entire computer crashed. So.
And yet you're back. I got to tell you, you really are a bad mom for having it together. I'm always impressed. Jill, I want to give you final thoughts. You know, we've been talking a little bit about giving kids driver's ed for this instead of just giving it to them. Setting those boundaries, having a protocol, maybe even having a family contract so you know how much screen time is too much. Jill, I'm going to leave it with you. What else should we do?
I think that the contracts are all good. I think the ongoing, Diana, your message of ongoing conversations is so important, because it's like, I mean, you know, dare I say, this is like the sex talk. Everyone said you have the sex talk, and then you have to keep checking in, talking to these kids. You have a talk about pornography, then you got to keep checking in. You have a talk about social and, you know, friends. You got to keep checking in. But for us, I think it starts with the parents setting the example. If my husband is on his phone at dinner time, I say something. And I say, hey, please put the phone away. And then he looks at me, he's like, what? It's for work. I go, well, you know what? This is not a time for work. And, you know, we do have a little thing about it, spat about it. But it's important that we set the example from the beginning, that we limit ourselves, I think, very, very, very much to err on the conservative side, so that our kids see us not using the devices more than they see us using it. But we do have to teach them how to manage it. And I use the term, it's not time for that right now with my girls. Can we do the laptop? It's not time for that right now. Well, when will it be time? Well, we'll, you know, figure out a time and we'll set boundaries. Setting boundaries for ourselves and our kids, I think, is the most important.
I love that. I've got a startup friend in New York. When we hang out, he goes, hey, let's take a mobile minute. Let's go check our email. It's a time not to be social right now. 1 minute, go. And we're checking email and we're texting people back, and then it's face-to-face. Going out, meeting people, and doing things, and I think that's great.
What establishes relationships. You know, screen time is not a relationship time. Screen time is a dimensional interaction. Face-to-face is what really causes good friendships to develop, good relationships to develop, and as our kids continue to grow up, you know, their final relationships need to be strengthened by the guidance that we give them, I think. So.
Wow, that was a great end to this. You know, Diana and Jill, I want to thank both of you for coming out to this. Those of you that are watching, I'm teaching Snapchat tomorrow. We've got a 30-minute class about all the secret things that your kids don't want to tell you that they're actually doing on Snapchat. We're going to teach you how they gamify it. It's in Parent University. You can click the link above or below. It's all on demand if you miss it. I'm teaching 7 more classes this summer on Snapchat. Plus, so that'll be your pizza. Plus, I'm going to throw in some asparagus in there too that you need to know, but you don't want to eat. I know how it works. We as humans, we are that way. I was telling somebody yesterday, I said, I can't believe they don't want to hear about Kick Messenger and all the predators on there. No, I just want to know about Snapchat. Well, we're going to talk about that later. Hey, I want to thank both of you for being on here. You guys are awesome. As always, parents, make sure you're keeping it light, bright, and polite, a little gentle plug, so that you're showing your kids the best thing that they can do online at all times, so you can teach them how to shine online. I'm Josh Oakes. Thanks so much for watching today. We'll see all of you very soon. Have a great day. Okay, so we're no longer on. I'm going to